When loss becomes your launchpad, welcome to Soft Girl Era, hosted by LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Staci Pamphlet-Gill, a woman whose work is reshaping how Black women navigate grief, self-love, and generational healing. Staci is making the world a better place by creating pathways for women to transform their deepest pain into unshakable power. And today, I'm sharing the insights from our conversation in a way that I hope lands right in your spirit. Let me start with something that might sound absurd. Here's what nobody tells you about grief: it doesn't just take things from you. Sometimes, if you're brave enough to sit with it, it gives you something back, something you didn't even know you needed, something that looks a lot like power. I know that sounds wild, maybe even offensive if you're in the thick of it right now, but stay with me because what I learned from Staci Pamphlet-Gill is this: your power doesn't ignite in the highlight reel, it ignites in the ashes of loss. Grief, especially the kind that comes with widowhood or devastating heartbreak, isn't the end of your story. It's the forge, the place where self love stops being a cute Instagram caption and starts becoming the thing that keeps you breathing, the thing that turns survival into unbreakable strength. And for Black women, the ones who've been taught that strength means silence, that softness is weakness, that rest is laziness, this truth hits different. Let me tell you about Lakeisha Jacobs Myrick. Lakeisha is a Black woman entrepreneur who built a beauty empire, but not before she hit rock bottom. We're talking toxic relationships, financial ruin, emotional abuse, the kind of devastation that makes you wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. She was drained by generational survival mode, carrying shame over her pain, navigating a beauty industry that ignored Black women's experiences entirely. She was expected to be strong, to keep moving, to keep producing, even as her world crumbled around her. The weight of it all nearly crushed her. But here's where it gets good. Lakeisha didn't just survive, she reclaimed softness, she embraced vulnerability through self reflection, therapy, and boundaries that would make a fortress jealous. She launched a podcast normalizing mental health conversations. She turned her adversity into a celebrated brand and became a sought after mentor on resilience. She walked through fire, chose joy over the odds, and centered her full story in her business. She refused to hide the messy parts. She refused to pretend that success came easy. She refused to let her loss be the final word. Today, Lakeisha has skyrocketed her platform, hired and supported Black communities boldly, and normalized boundaries and self respect for Black professional women. She reshaped beauty conversations and entrepreneurial paths because she understood something profound: that her pain had purpose, that her grief could become her greatest teacher. That's what Staci Pamphlet Gill means when she talks about power igniting in the ashes of loss. Lakeisha's story is proof. Grief as a widow, as a woman devastated by betrayal, isn't the end. It's the forge where self love turns survival into unbreakable strength. Now, let's talk about the second truth Staci Pamphlet Gill shared with me. Breaking generational cycles demands fierce self love. And no, it's not selfish, it's the blueprint for rebuilding everything stronger, cycle by cycle. You know what generational cycles look like, right? The overwork, the underrest, the burnout from family and financial pressures, the toxic systems demanding constant proof that you're worthy, that you're enough, that you deserve to take up space. It's exhausting and it's killing us. Meet Crescenda Foster. Crescenda guides high achieving Black women from survival grind to sustainable softness post heartbreak. She works with women like Cynthia Powell, who were drowning in overwork, suffocating under the weight of expectations, burning out from systems that never valued their humanity in the first place. These women were taught that rest was a luxury they couldn't afford, that boundaries were rude, that saying no meant they were weak or ungrateful. They carried everyone else's burdens while their own backs broke. They smiled through the pain because that's what good Black women do, right? We hold it together. We make it work. We sacrifice. But Crescenda said no more. Her solution? She shifted to humanity centered strategies, rest, boundaries, emotional intelligence as competitive edges. She proved that softness fuels sharper decisions and stronger businesses without burnout. She emerged from survival mode after personal and professional betrayals and redefined power through aligned, sassy self care. She refused to let the world's expectations dictate her worth. She refused to let productivity be her identity. Today, Crescenda has transformed narratives in tech and entrepreneurship, making softness a mainstream win for Black leaders. She sparked a permission culture for Black women to rest and reset, influencing professionals to prioritize peace over hustle. That's what breaking generational cycles looks like. It's not about being selfish, it's about being intentional. It's about saying, the buck stops here. I'm not passing this pain down. I'm not teaching my daughter that her worth is tied to her productivity. I'm not modeling burnout as a badge of honor. It's about fierce self love as the blueprint for rebuilding. And Staci Pamphlet-Gill knows this intimately. She's lived it. She's teaching it. She's making space for women to do the same. Here's the third truth, and it's the one that might sting a little. Growth thrives in the messiest seasons. The hardest pain births your deepest glow up. Own it unapologetically. I want to introduce you to Ashley. Ashley is a Black hospice therapist and entrepreneur who built a practice after struggling to find relatable care during her own grief and loss. She faced racial trauma, anxiety from the lack of culturally attuned therapy, and generational mental health silence that made her feel like she was drowning alone. When she needed help the most, she couldn't find therapists who understood her experience as a Black woman navigating grief. She couldn't find space that honored her pain without judgment or dismissal. So she did something radical. She turned her pain into a specialized private practice. Ashley created holistic multicultural therapy focusing on grief for people of color. She authored works, spoke on resilience, and created interactive healing spaces for Black folks' pain. She empowered clients through loss with tools for self love and cycle breaking. She filled gaps in grief care for communities of color, fostering self rebuild amid generational trauma. Ashley's story nails what Staci Pamphlet-Gill teaches. Grief to power arcs are real. Self love in cycles. And the messiest seasons, the ones where you can barely see through the tears, are often the ones where the most profound growth happens. You don't glow up in comfort, you glow up in the fire. You glow up when you're forced to choose between staying stuck or stepping into the woman you were always meant to be. And for Black women, this is sacred work because we've been taught to shrink, to serve, to sacrifice, to smile through the pain, to carry everyone else's burdens while our own backs break. Staci Pamphlet-Gill is saying, no more. Your soft girl era starts when you decide that your peace matters more than their comfort. When you decide that rest isn't laziness, it's resistance. When you decide that saying no without guilt is the most revolutionary thing you can do. So here's what I need you to hear today. Your power ignites in the ashes of loss. Grief isn't the end, it's the forge. Breaking generational cycles demands fierce self love, and it's not selfish, it's the blueprint. Growth thrives in the messiest seasons, and the hardest pain births your deepest glow up. Lakeisha, Crescenda, Ashley, they're proof. They walked through widow level devastation, survival mode burnout, and grief that could have destroyed them. But they chose softness, they chose boundaries, they chose self love, and they rebuilt everything stronger. Staci Pamphlet-Gill is guiding women through this transformation every single day. She's creating pathways for Black women to turn their deepest pain into unshakable power. She's making the world a better place by refusing to let grief have the final word. And now it's your turn. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Grab a journal. Name one generational cycle you're breaking with a self love boundary. Just one. Maybe it's saying no to family obligations that drain you. Maybe it's refusing to overwork yourself into exhaustion. Maybe it's choosing rest without explanation. Maybe it's setting a boundary with someone who's been taking advantage of your kindness for years. Write it down. Make it real. Make it concrete. Then acted on it this week. Say no to one drain. Affirm your power daily. Speak it out loud. Stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself the truth that you are worthy of softness, that you deserve rest, that your peace is non negotiable. Rebuild starts now, unapologetic, unashamed, unafraid. Because here's the truth you need to hear: you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone your silence. You owe yourself softness. You owe yourself rest. You owe yourself the kind of fierce self love that breaks cycles and rebuilds legacies. Staci Pamphlet-Gill taught me that. Lakeisha, Crescenda, and Ashley lived it. And now you get to claim it. Your soft girl era isn't about being weak, it's about being wise enough to know that softness is strength, that rest is resistance, that boundaries are love, that grief can be the launch pad for the most powerful version of yourself you've ever known. So let the ashes fall, let the cycles break, let the mess be messy, because on the other side of all that pain, there's a woman who's softer, stronger, and more powerful than she ever imagined. And she's you. This is your invitation. This is your permission slip. This is your moment to choose differently. The world doesn't need another version of you running on empty. The world needs you whole. The world needs you rested. The world needs you soft and strong and unapologetically yourself. So take the cape off, set it down gently, walk away from the weight you were never meant to carry, and step into the sacred pause. Step into the place where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. Staci Pamphlet-Gill is leading the way. Lakeisha, Crescenda, and Ashley have shown us it's possible. And now it's your turn to follow. Your soft girl era is waiting. And it starts the moment you decide that you matter more than the role you've been playing. The moment you decide that your peace is worth protecting. The moment you decide that your story doesn't end in grief, it begins there. So go ahead. Let loss become your launch pad. Let grief become your greatest teacher. Let softness become your superpower. The world is ready for the real you. The question is, are you ready for her?